You guys have been asking, and we have heard you. It's finally time for the Mark V BMW Supra gauge. It's Toyota. All right, all you purists, take a few breaths. I can hear you from here. Just a joke, we're on the same team. But since that is a bit of a Maverick Top Gun fighter pilot cockpit situation, we wanted to give you a bit of a better visual here since this is a little more involved than our typical installs. We have a dash that's out of the car. We can go over everything out here so you can see it well, so that when we're doing it in the car, you don't have to see every detail. Basically how this is gonna work is you'll start with a trim pry tool. We're gonna remove this trim around your headlight switch. The switch is going to come out with this trim, and then you will need a little pocket screwdriver to pop the connector off of that harness. Then we're gonna have two T20 Torx right here and right here. We're gonna take those off, and that will get this vent out of the way. Now, typically, our displays would mount in this vent. And when you do that, the cable runs through, folds around the back, comes out, then it plugs down into the OBD2 port. But in this situation, that vent's not going to work. So we've got this little guy that's going to live right on top of your defrost vent here. So we still have to do something with the cable. It's gonna drop down through here. And if you can come in here with me, we'll pull that off with a trim pry tool, just real easy, just comes out, set that aside. And this is where things get a little different on this car. If you look up through here, this is the plenum for the defrost vent. And if we look down from the top, we can see that we've drilled a hole. It's a 1/2 inch hole, needs to be somewhere in this area. But this whole plenum is glued to the underside of the dash and there's nowhere for the cable to go. So basically we need a hole for the cable to pass through, and that's why you gotta drill that hole. You have tons of room to do that from right down here with the drill, you can see there. And it seems like it would make more sense to do it from the top, but in real life, you've got a windshield sitting right here. So that's not going to work. Anyways, we just wanted to give you a quick overview with this dash out of the car so you can see everything in detail. Now when we're doing it in the car, if you can't see something, you're not 100% sure, just refer back to this section and then you can see exactly what's going on. All right, I just got myself shoehorned in this thing. Got a low roof, really tight. That's why we did the external dash thing for you. Anyways, tools you're gonna need for this. We'll go over them again real quick. Plastic trim pry tool, trusty tool, always using that. Little pocket screwdriver or maybe like a pick to get the headlamp harness plug off. It's a really stiff little connector. You need a T20 Torx. I've got mine on a little drill driver here. And then you're gonna need a 1/2 inch drill bit. This is a 3/8, but this is a nice small drill for video. I'm gonna come back later with a larger drill and make the whole 1/2 inch. But with all of our installs, first thing we want you to do is verify that your gauge works. We don't want you taking all your dash apart and everything just to find out that it's configured wrong or it doesn't work and we need to help you take care of that. We've got our gauge here. All of our gauges consist of 3 major components. We've got our display, we've got our control box, and then we've got our harness. Go ahead and plug all those into each other and then plug the OBD2 connector into your OBD2 port. There we go. As soon as you connect it, you might see some white dots go across the bottom of the screen, or you might not. The gauge is designed to turn on and off with your engine, not with the ignition. So we're gonna have to start the engine, and I will warn you, if you're wearing earphones, maybe take them off. This car is insanely loud, and I'm gonna have to wait a second for it to come down off of its little cold start rev up. Here we go. All right, she settled down a little bit. You can probably hear me now, but we can see that we've got live RPM on here. Let me give you a little rev. Wow, this is loud. Make sure your buttons work. We're cycling through, we're getting different readouts. We got oil temp, live data, we're good. So at this point, we can let our ears stop bleeding and then we can proceed with the install procedure. First thing we want to do is remove the side trim panel on the dash here. So just get under that with your pry tool and then pop that guy out. And really we can probably just leave it like this. It doesn't need to come all the way off. Next, we're gonna take this trim around your headlamp switch off. And these things are pretty stiff. You've got the soft touch, so be careful. Get under there, there we go. Got that loose. And then be careful here, because if you just let go of this, it can fall down and then maybe gouge your soft touch. Got my pocket screwdriver here to release the headlamp switch harness. connector. It is a stiff little connector. It does not like coming out. There we go. Let's set this aside. Now we've got our two T20 Torx. We'll pull those out. Now we can pull our vent out. It just was held in by these down low. It's got clips on the bottom, and then it's also got some metal tabs up top. If you're not careful, they can kind of get peeled backwards, so be mindful of that. If you kind of get the vent to go down as you're taking out, it'd probably help you a little bit. But I can already see that one of these tabs is wanting to go the wrong way. I'm gonna try to help it with my trim pry tool. You can see that this one is, I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it's kind of folded up. We'll have to bend that back down. That can also be set aside. Now we're ready to pull our defrost vent off. You'll want to, basically it goes in and locks under on the front, so you need to release it from this backside here. And if you kind of get under it like that and push forward, it will help release the tabs. Comes up, and now we can just pull it straight back to you. That is where our display is going to connect to in a moment. Now we need to drill the hole underneath. You don't want to go full ham on this and send it right into your A-pillar trim, so do be careful. Especially if you have a sharp drill bit, it is going to pull that thing right through. This is reminding me of drilling holes through Peter's Charger deck lid. Okay, and then I'm going to quickly step this up to a 1/2 inch with a giant massive corded drill that is very bulky. Okay, at this point you've got your hole drilled, 1/2 inch hole. You might need to go side to side a little bit just to, you know, we're getting like a square peg through a round hole and your corners are gonna be kind of tight. A step bit might even be better. That goes like 1 step above 1/2 inch, but right around 1/2 inch should get you taken care of. Now we're ready to mount our display enclosure to your defrost vent. And the way this is gonna work is we're looking at the vent as if it was sitting in the car. You have this really small slat that doesn't even pass through. Then you have your first actual air slat, like air vent slat. And then your second one is where we want the cable to go through. So we'll go ahead and pop that through. If you depress the clip and kind of wedge it through, it will pop right through there. They're pretty flexible. So we're gonna pass that right through. Run your cable all the way back. Make sure it's not twisted. We want it to be nice and flat. And then, we'll actually let that hang down. You will notice, hopefully you can see this well on camera, right here, there's a groove in this mounting tab. We need the cable to kind of just sit right down in there like that. And it's made to sit in there. And now we're gonna slide the vent up, and both the cable and the clip will go in the same vent slat. And then when it's together, it's all gonna line up, and you'll see as it goes together here. Get that in properly. Then once you get it clipped into that second vent slot, it's gonna look something like this. Your cable is right in the middle of the center portion where it's got the little relief for it, and then your two clips are locked underneath the vent slat. Now we can take our cable, feed it through the hole, and then before we fully route it, we can go ahead and pull this out the side dash here. You will also get one of these little plugs, and it's gonna look like kind of like a little Pac-Man, and basically it's a plug that's gonna go around the cable and then be like a seal for that hole we created. So go ahead and get this fed most of the way through. Go ahead and clip this into or onto the display cable on the black tape section. And then you might want to slide it down a little bit, pull this through, and then as you get close, maybe put it towards the end of the black tape like that. You can see that right there. Can you feel it? I'm close to the end of the black tape with that plug. As it gets there, we can go ahead and seat it in the hole. It's gonna go ahead and plug our hole up for us and kind of snaps into place. Now we can pull the display cable through that. You'll feel a little bit of resistance there, which is what we want. And then as we pull it down in here, don't pull too hard. Get your defrost vent seated there and just set it in place. Just like that. It's gonna snap in, have a nice finish there. Now we have our cable drop down. We're gonna go ahead and plug our control box and OBD2 harness into this. And with this tight trim down here, let me go ahead and undo this twist tie. You can even unplug the harness in the middle. and then you just have the OBD2 section separate. Go ahead and plug the OBD2 connector into the OBD2 port, and then you'll feel the trim down there. There's like kind of like a trim around the OBD2 connector. We can feed it and it will fit, it'll slide in between the trim panels here. And now we can get to underneath the side dash, and we want to avoid the grommets or the slots where these clips go in, but we can feed that up and then plug our main harness back in, just like so. And now we can tuck all of this right here under the dash. We've got lots of room to work with, which is awesome. It's not always the case. You can wrap this cabling up however you'd like. I always say in these videos that we're constantly taking our own gauges in and out of the cars for development stuff. I always just wedge them in there, and I haven't had an issue with rattles yet, but I know a lot of people like to tidy those up, make sure they're felt covered and all that, which is great. But for the sake of this video, we're just gonna tuck it all in here. And then another thing, we wanna make sure that our display cable is not in front of the plenum for our vent to go back in. We don't want that getting caught in there. And now that we know that's all clear, we can go ahead and snap our vent back into place. We'll go ahead and do that now. Just get it seated back in that plenum, seat it up in there, line up all your tabs. And then it snaps in like so. Run our two T20s back in. Now we can put our headlight switch back in place. It's got a little keyway on it, so it can only go in one way. 4 tabs to line up on that. Snaps back in like that. And now we can put our side trim back in. Soft touch can be a little troublesome to get these things to snap back in. Or I'm just a rookie, or both. There we have it. Now we can do an ear-piercing startup with this thing again, and we'll see if the gauge comes on. I don't know if you can hear me. Oh, here we go. We're gonna come down off that cold start. Oh my goodness, this thing is insane. And now it's so quiet. It's quite amazing. We can see here, actually, can you see it in the video? Hopefully you can. We're reading, I think, oil temp. Go ahead and pull this cover off. Now, I don't know what kind of person you are, but I like to leave these on just to drive people nuts. And in like 2 years, I can pull the cover off and the glass is still brand new underneath. But there it is, super gauge number 1. We're reading good data. We're happy, the gauge is happy, looks great. Install is now complete. Let me shut this off. If you got any questions or comments on this install, please let us know in the comments below. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch these videos, and we hope that you tell your friends about P3. We are a small business. We develop and build these ourselves, and it is very busy, so word of mouth and social media is huge for us. Please help spread the word, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Be on the lookout for more content coming soon, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.